Morning, everybody. My name's Suzanne Abrahams. I'm the General Manager for Leeds Children's Hospital. We're a little bit thin on the ground in terms of the Tri team this morning with annual leave for Colin and various other people. Celia is still wrapping up the magnificent British Transplant Games, which have been on this weekend, which have been absolutely fantastic. And I won't steal her thunder. She can tell you all about that when she's back. I've got COVID. But anyway, let's see how we get on. So good morning and welcome, and thank you for joining us. As always, any questions or anything, please just pop them in the chat. And Josh, will you record this for us, please? I know I've just sprung that on you, but if you wouldn't mind figuring out how to press record,
Yep,
that would be wonderful. Oh, thank you. Wonderful. Ahead of game there. Wonderful. Just to let people know that today is Respect for Parents Day, which recognises the leadership roles parents play not only in our children's lives but in our communities. And I think that's especially prevalent, really, isn't it, within the Children's Hospital, because the parents of our lovely children are absolutely invaluable in helping us to deliver the care that we deliver and to help us to do what we do. And so it felt appropriate to recognise that today. Okie dokie then. So Debbie and I are going to be doing a bit of a double act this morning, and I will kick off by just doing an update of tactical from Friday. So Claire Smith, who's our Chief Operating Officer, started off by announcing that it was the start of the British Transplant Games on Friday, praising our transplant teams and saying what a great opportunity it was to celebrate the impact that our fabulous service has on these people and these children's and their families' lives, which is very, very true. It's been I've been utterly gutted that I couldn't be there, because the plan was for me and my family to be there all weekend, but obviously because of COVID couldn't do that. But the videos and the media and the everything that I've seen, the photos have just been utterly phenomenal. So it looks like it's been absolutely brilliant. And the work that goes in to putting those games on and being hosted here in Leeds is a very, very proud thing for us to be doing. And Celia, Lisa, Amanda, I can see is on, have just amongst many, many others, have just gone above and beyond to make it a fabulous game. So huge thanks to them. Claire thanked people for the responses that had been received in relation to the heat wave, and they're going to be incorporated into the trust response plans and adapted moving forward. And the Trust Board wanted to convey the thanks from the entire board, acknowledging that all the work in managing the unplanned pressures and the transformation work that everybody's doing is taking its toll, and that is absolutely acknowledged. And a huge thank you to everybody for doing what they do. And then we went on to IPC. The number of COVID patients is plateauing across the organisation, and there's also been a reduction in the nosocomial transmission, which is good news. In terms of ongoing work to how to manage the hospital acquired COVID based on recent learning, that will be adapted and changed as we move forward, as the plans always do with the most up-to-date learning. In terms of MPX, FF3P masks are required when assessing and treating possible MPX patients, and ongoing fit testing is ongoing, and looking to improve the recording of fit testing results for staff is also ongoing. But the core principles have been reviewed as well in relation to IPC and COVID, and no new guidance is coming out currently. In terms of future planning and looking what the winter may bring, so looking to Australia, there's been a small numbers of COVID-19 and flu co-infection are being reported currently, and no severe cases are being reported. There does seem to be a spike in RSV in children, so we're doing some work looking at that and putting our plans in place, just as we did do last year, should that spike hit here. And then there were just some updates regarding the unplanned programme care update and the patient placement work stream, which is focusing on elderly care pathways. And there was just an update on how that's happening to facilitate flow, which is happening really well. In terms of the unplanned care programme update, admission avoidance in terms of SDEC and virtual ward work is underway. As we know, it is within children's and within adults, and the timely discharge before 3 p.m. as well. Again, we were recognised as lots of work ongoing in children's, and we're doing really well in terms of that and unplanned care. There is going to be a creation of a it's probably the wrong way of terming it, but the software that will be based on PPM Plus that will create a live bed state, and it will show if a bed is unavailable, for example, due to expecting a patient from ED theatre or outpatients, and it will give the picture of the whole trust and hospital level bed state, split by side rooms, bay beds down to ward level. So it will show the total bed base and the available beds and reasons that beds are unavailable. So that hopefully will cut down on the vast amount of phone calls and visits and queries that people raise when trying to find out if a bed is available. It will hopefully improve the timeliness of moving patients out of bed spaces as well. And again, just cut down on all those phone calls. So it's going to be piloted in a few adult areas in the first instance, and then the plan is to roll that across the whole trust by winter. So that's wonderful. And it will also help the Trust Operations Centre, which again, that centre essentially concentrates on patient flow from ED through to the wards or where the appropriate place for those patients to be placed with. So it'll really help with the patient placement. So that's it from tactical. If I pass over to Debbie now, who can update us on what was talked about at Bronze this week, and then perhaps look at operational pressures for the week ahead. Thanks, Debbie.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Debbie Smith. I'm the matron from Neonatal Services. Last week at Bronze, we talked about parental swabbing, and we have been within the Children's Hospital swabbing our parents, but obviously not the visitors. And the reason behind that was that parents were removing their masks while they were sleeping, and that's why we continue to do the parent swabbing. But as we move from out to the next phase of COVID, the question came, do we really need to continue swabbing our parents? So we felt that we needed to reach out to our teams within the Children's Hospital, the Band 7s, the ward areas, to understand how they were feeling, what was the impact and what controls did we need to put in. So last week, Laura reached out to the Band 7s. There was a bit of a mixture of views, whether we needed to continue swabbing parents. Understanding the impact on the staff, because as we know, children are affected, but the impact on the staff and having increased risk. So we're still waiting for those results, and then we will make the decision. On to operational pressures. Critical care last week still was balancing beds, did very well, elective activity and the acute activity, and they've continued all week to just balance that, being able to take the HDU patients and the ICU patients in. Cat, I did put quieter on my list, on my sheet, but unfortunately they've had yesterday, Cat actually, the attendees picked up, and it's been a really busy night in Cat. There were 15 this morning in Cat with 6 inpatients and 4 short stays, so they've really had been busy. So we just need to acknowledge the staff, how busy it has been, and they've been also helping A&E as well as Cat staff. So, and thank you to our other teams. That's it from me. Back to you, Suzanne.
Thanks, Debbie. So if I just give people a bit of an update in terms of finance, not the facts and figures, but a bit of a process. So as I've briefed before, regarding the mitigation plans that have been developed to try and close the financial gap that the trust has as a whole. One part of that is about reviewing vacancies, and as of today, a vacancy review panel is being put in place for every single CSU. So for there is a communication has gone out to all of the service managers, matrons, anybody who's likely to deal with line manager portal, essentially, to be able to advertise and put forward a vacancy. The process is now that there is a shortened form that needs to be completed, which will go through to the vacancy approval panel, which meets on a Wednesday morning for those vacancies to be approved. Then a local recruitment number will be generated, given to the recruiting manager, and then they will recruit as per normal on the line manager portal. There are certain posts which are excluded from that process, but they still do need to have a local recruitment number generated. So we'll even shorter form will be completed for those posts to go to the vacancy recruitment panel, which will spit out a number for you to be able to put on Line Manager Portal. And those vacancies that don't need approval per se tend to be the clinical ones. So it's not exclusive, but it's consultant posts and nursing posts essentially do not need formal approval from the vacancy approval panel, but will need a recruitment number, which the recruitment panel will generate. So it just adds in it might add in a week or so in terms of getting post advertising out there, but just wanted people to be aware of that really. And then just in terms of waste reduction, drug spend is something we've seen go up quite significantly this year, to the tune of about £500,000. So it's very significant. And we've been doing some deep dive with our colleagues in pharmacy, and Anna Kinsella has been absolutely fabulous, and the pharmacy leads for each of the specialties have been doing loads of work to try and understand where these increased spends have come from and if they're likely to continue for the rest of the year. And to see if there's anything we can do to mitigate the risk. And one of the outputs of that work is that the pharmacy team have managed to source a different vial size of one of our most expensive medications. And in doing so, that's resulted in savings of £36,684 per year. And that's without any compromise to patient treatment. So again, this is just to try and spark if there is any other ideas that people have out there, or things that we can do that may seem so tiny and inconsequential, but actually £36,000 is quite a big, large chunk of a full-time nurse. So it's it all does absolutely add up. So if there is anything like that, then please do have a think in your own areas and ask the questions. And there may well not be, but if you're thinking that there might be, please do ask the questions, because I wouldn't have a clue sat here. It's you guys who are out there who are on doing the do, who know the right questions to ask. So please do that, because things are followed up and make a significant difference. Okie dokie then. So lessons learned, Debbie, over to you.
Okay, so many of you be aware that we've got an MRSA cluster within neonates at the present time, and we are having weekly meetings with IPC. Unfortunately, this week we had another positive baby who was actually previously positive. The baby had gone through the decolonisation administration, that it was completed. The baby had 3 negative swabs, 72 hours apart. And there were questions why the baby had obviously was positive again. During our meeting, it became apparent that that I wasn't aware of this policy, that if a child or baby has had antibiotics during that swabbing process, well, the swabs would be void and actually have to do 3 negative swabs, or get 3 negative swabs while the child is off antibiotics, because we can't believe that the antibiotics are not changing the flora and fauna of the patient. So that was quite a lot of learning actually for myself and for the other band 7s within the Children's Hospital. When we asked on our Friday Huddle, nobody was aware of it. So we're going to put out communication about the MRSA swabs and making sure that when we do take them, we're confident that the child's not on any antibiotics.
Lovely, thanks, Debbie. And are you going to do some sharing of success?
Yeah. And this week is 30 years since Daycase has been opened. And actually, through those 30 years, it has changed a lot. It's probably taken a lot more cases. We've expanded the daycase, the medical daycase, the surgery, and I'm sure that they're going to celebrate this week with lots of different. They've got lots planned. Tracy Gardner's got things planned for the whole of the week. But if you pass by L49, please pop your head in and say, well, congratulations. A lot of our teams across the CSU do use the facilities on Daycase. So happy birthday to Daycase.
Absolutely. Thanks, Debbie. That's fabulous. Okie dokie. So to wrap up, I've just got a couple of things to plug really. The first one was the Summer of Connecting. So it's just come out of in the start of the week, and basically it's refreshment of the Leeds way. And it's called a Summer of Connecting. So it's our time to take part and have our say really in terms of, do we think the Leeds way, which is intrinsic to our core values and what we believe in as employees of LTHT, but does it need a bit of a spruce up and a refresh? So that the Summer of Connecting has started already, and it's really important that people take part in it, so you have a chance to put your opinions forward. The conversation platform's open until the 19th of August to have conversations about making sure the Leeds way remains relevant, which is what we absolutely want to make sure it does. So you should have received a login for the Wayfinder platform, and I can put a link into the chat, which I will do, which you can click on and you can learn more about it as well. But again, just to stress that please do take part if you can do. There are some open Teams meetings, so there's what to discuss this further. So there's one on the 9th of August, which Dame Linda will be chairing, and then there's one on the 24th of August at 11:30 a.m, which Phil Wood will be chairing also. So if you click on the link, the details of that will be in there. So that's that. Wanted to mention as well the news regarding the GID service that came up on Thursday. It was for those who aren't aware, really, we had some very surprising announcement made on the Thursday from NHS England, which basically was saying that the model of providing the GID service would be moving towards a more of a regional one, and the current providers, be that Tavistock and ourselves, would cease providing from spring next year, where we would move to the more regional model. And that initially is having a provider in the north, which would be Alderhay, and a provider in the south, which would be Gosh. It came as a great surprise to everybody, all of us. And there's obviously a lot of emotion and a lot of difficult times ahead for people, and people have been finding it very difficult to process that information. As a management team, we just wanted to say how unbelievably proud we are of our GIDS team and the skills and the competence and the work that team have done since the inception of the service today. The families that they've worked with, the families and children they've helped and supported, and without question the lives that they've saved. And we just wanted to make sure that people knew how phenomenally proud we are of that team, and will continue to support them through the next few weeks and months ahead, which will undoubtedly be very upsetting and tricky, but we will support them to the best of our ability, as we will do our children and our families who are within that service. And then very finally, there is a Healthier Futures Action Fund. So and I just wanted to make sure people were aware of this. It has been communicated, but often with these things, they just go over the radar, don't they? So it's a new Healthier Futures Action Fund from Green NHS, and it's now open for application. So the fund aims to support individuals and teams within NHS organisations to kickstart innovative ideas, from reducing waste, new clinical pathways, to active travel and clean air initiatives. The fund is open for bids with a suggested range of between £3,000 and £15,000. You can apply up until the 19th of August. And if you want to apply, again, I'll put the details of that in the chat as well once I've stopped talking, because I can't do two things at once. And just click on there. And if there's anything, you have any ideas or any inkling of wanting to do something but need a bit of cash to be able to do it, and this feels like it ticks that box, then pop in an application, because what's the worst that can happen? And that is it from me. So is there anything else in the chat as we've been talking? Let's have a little look. Okay, what was that, Sharon? Was there a process to bid for that new services? What this an imposed solution with new opportunity to bid? I'm not sure I quite understand what that means.
The GIDS service.
Oh, okay. No, so there was no process that we are aware of. It was all very offline. these conversations and discussions that happen, which is why it came as such a massive surprise to all of us. Okie dokie, so there's no more questions, there's no more comments in the chat. We're bang on time. So thank you ever so much for joining us this morning. Have a lovely, lovely week, and hopefully the sun will be shining. All right then, thanks everybody, have a lovely week. Bye.
Bye.